Let's bring in retired U.S. Marines Lieutenant Colonel Dakota Wood. Colonel, your reaction?
Liz, I'm kind of stunned by the silence or by the lukewarm support. If we think back in the bad old days of the Cold War, Ronald Reagan, Margaret Thatcher, Pope John Paul II all banded together to talk about Soviet repression. And the same thing is occurring today in terms of this popular uprising. I mean, it's an amazing and inspirational moment when you see these protesters take to the street at risk of their own lives, their livelihoods, and those of family members to make a statement against the regime. I think it's a mistake to narrowly focus this on the Iranian government's response to the shoot down the liner. I think this is building. And America taking out Soleimani, I believe, really showed that the Iranian regime is not untouchable. And it's opened a window of opportunity for these people to express themselves at great hazard. And the United States couldn't do anything better than to support what's going on over there with these people.
We only have former Vice President Joe Biden and Senator Amy Klobuchar speaking out in support of the protesters. The president did show solidarity with the Iranians, saying, Iran, don't kill your own people. Here he is today on this issue. Watch this.
All the embassies were alerted. That's why I deployed additional troops to the region. And let me say this much, Jake. I'm glad we're having this discussion today because I'd rather be here discussing this topic with you.
What's the intelligence say? Well, first of all, I think it's been totally consistent. But here's what's been consistent. We killed Soleimani, the #1 terrorist in the world by every account. Bad person, killed a lot of Americans, killed a lot of people. We killed him. And when the Democrats try and defend him, it's a disgrace to our country. They can't do that. And let me tell you, it's not working politically very well for them. So we killed the #1 terrorist in the world, Soleimani, and it should have been done 20 years ago. We'll see you at the game. Thank you.
Colonel, your reaction?
Soleimani, the chief architect of a web of organizations all designed to undermine local governments, intimidate and coerce populations, and extend Iranian influence throughout the Middle East. So just as we would applaud taking down a drug cartel, drug lord, and other terrorist masterminds, I think this attack against Soleimani was the right thing to do, and it was the right moment to do it. So we're seeing the benefits of this, again, empowering the protesters to speak up against this regime that's in Tehran, and we need to provide them this kind of support we see coming out of the White House.
You know, Iran's street protests have been ongoing off and on since the Green Revolution that the Obama administration ignored because President Obama wanted the legacy of an Iran New Deal. Bloomberg News reported a few years ago, quoting from a new book at that time by a Wall Street Journal reporter, Jay Solomon, quote, Obama feared that demonstrations would sabotage his secret outreach to Iran and that Obama ordered the CIA to sever contacts it had with the Iranian Green Movement supporters. In this case, the White House ordered the CIA to stand down here. You know, Senator Chuck Schumer cited numerous problems with the Obama's nuclear deal in 2015, said that Iran would be free after 10 years to build a nuclear weapon. I do want to move on to Joe Biden saying that the only way out of this is diplomacy. Your reaction to that?
Well, it seems that we see diplomacy in force there in the streets of Tehran. I mean, if the regime is not acceptable to the good world order, we don't want to remove it by force. That would be disastrous. The change has to come from within. So it's not going to come willingly with the regime stepping down. The people have to determine their own fate. And that's what they're doing in these popular protests. These are not paid by the government. They're speaking against the government, at great risk to themselves, as I've already said. So this is democracy in action. And isn't this something that we should be championing and applauding and really trying to help push forward, at least rhetorically and diplomatically?
Colonel, great to see you. Thank you for your insights and your service to our country. Thanks for coming in.
My pleasure, Liz. Thank you.
Come back soon.